I am mining investor and editor of Resource Stock Digest, Gerardo Del Real, here with my partner, Senor Nicolas Haj, who's also an investor and the publisher of Daily Profit Cycle. Hard to believe, but this is the 310th episode of our weekly therapy session that we call Investing in Bizarro World. It was a calm week last week. This past week was not a calm week. So we're gonna get a lot in today. We're gonna talk about markets, what we're investing in, the Bizarro week that it was. Senor Haj, I would ask how you're doing, but it looks like you're angling for maybe a gold sponsorship or getting your morning routine. How are you, sir?
You caught me in the middle of my morning routine, Gerardo. I see all these gentlemen out there duct taping their mouths and doing banana peel moisturizers. I start out every morning with 2 American Eagle gold coins on my eyes, and I sit there and I meditate for a while. And then in the evening, I reach over and I get the St. Gaudens from the early 1920s, from 1923 and 1924 I do, and then I rub them. I rub them around like this.
Oh, God.
And then on special days, I reach for the Liberty heads is what I do. And I take it
only on special days.
Yeah, because these are from the 1870s and 1890s. So I take the Liberty heads and then I rub them all around like this. No, I'm joking, of course. But I've been seeing these morning routine videos going around on the socials, and these guys think they're something, Gerardo. I'm old school. I get up at 5 a.m., drink my coffee, and do my fucking job. And then I don't do banana peels and duct tape. And then, the one guy was talking about doing $10,000 deals. So this is what he's got to get up at 4 o'clock and do an ice bath and a sauna and moisturize. And then he got on the phone and talked about a $10,000 deal. I just had $6,000 worth of coins on my eyes, Gerardo. There's, I don't know, $15,000 worth of gold laying on my desk right now. So some of these guys are schmucks, is what I'm saying. And I hate the rented Lamborghini avenue of current marketing. And I hate having to put gold coins on my eyes to start podcasts. But that's where you and I are. I'm sure you have some St. Gaudens and some Liberty head coins. This one, if you can focus, is from the private collection of Mr. James Dines.
The late great Mr. James Dines. Yes,
that's
sir.
Right. I believe you have one of those as well. And so
I do. It's right there.
We deal with real coins and real value, and we clearly write checks larger than $10,000 into deals. So anyway, I thought that was a funny start given the viral videos that are out there this week. But in a very real way, did dig out my box of things from the basement because I just wanted to see what was in there at that $3,050 gold, right? It's different than it was a couple of years ago. So there were some interesting things in that box. How are you?
I'm great. And listen, I don't knock anybody's deal flow or the size of the deals they can do. Both you and I come from humble beginnings.
Humble.
It's the pompousness of the videos that kind of rubs us the wrong way. And I don't mean to speak for you, but that's at least what kind of rubbed me the wrong way. The pompousness of it. The rented Lamborghini line is the perfect way to describe that, right? Like there's pride in coming from humble beginnings and working hard and lifting yourself up by your bootstraps and getting up at 5 a.m. and grinding it out. There's also pride in having, whatever your income level is, 100,000, 1 million, 10 million, 100 million. I mean, I have, luckily you and I have done well for ourselves, but we have friends that think we're very, very, very rich. And then we have friends that if they woke up with the money that we have would be very worried about their net worth, right? They would go, oh shit, what the fuck is going on? So there's levels to everything, perspective to everything. The message, I guess, that I would preach to everyone is just be humble about, wherever you are, guys. It's guys and gals, stay humble, man. Stay humble. Everything can change in a heartbeat, and be thankful for where you're at, and nothing wrong with doing what we do every day, which is striving for more. And I like adding zeros to the bank account. I like, tenfold, 100-fold gains on my stock when I write a check, and we celebrate that. Stay humble on that path, everyone.
Stay humble is well said for sure. The way these videos are presented and the virality they get would make you think that these were the largest, most important deal makers in the world, right? And that's far from the case. So stay humble for sure, and keep trying to stack those coins, whether they're silver or gold, and stack the zeros as well.
A lot to get to. It's funny you mentioned pulling out your coin collection and then the box and seeing what's in it. I now have gold jewelry that I'm hesitant to wear because at $1,000 gold, it didn't seem gaudy. It didn't seem like I was being a show off about it, or arrogant about the jewelry, but at $3,056 gold, where we're at now, all of a sudden, I mean, if you're wearing a 2 ounce gold necklace, that's a $7,000 necklace. If it happens to have diamonds, that's a $10,000 necklace. That could be a really good come up for somebody, and it could also rub some people the wrong way. And so I have a bunch of jewelry that just kind of sits in a jewelry box now that I'll wear occasionally, but I find myself more and more, just putting it underneath the shirts and not be that pompous personality that we tend to see online and that we tend to see in the real world, right? And yeah, I mean,
And
anybody
it,
that knows me, yeah, knows that's not my personality, but I also, people that know me know I like nice things, and 3,050 gold is a great problem to have, but it does limit some of the stuff that I could wear, man.
it sells. I get it. I saw Jeff Clark at the last MIF with his gold chain wrapping up there. I mean, it is what it is.
All right, listen, let's get to it. We talked last week about gold and silver. We said the chart looked bullish. We said that despite efforts to push gold and silver down, gold had held that $3,000 mark beautifully. And we also said if silver managed to breach that $34 level again, it was probably going to do so in an aggressive way. Check and check. We were right on both counts. What are you seeing in the gold and the silver space other than a lot of opportunity out there, folks?
Yeah, gold and silver really bullish. Broken record again. All-time highs is one of the most bullish technical indicators you can get. There's no resistance above it. I was given a Foundational Profits call-in talk this week with some subscribers of that letter, and an old Dines reader was asking about his, Mr. Dines, $3,000 to $5,000 gold prediction, and was looking for some follow-up on that, sort of like you're asking, and as well as how it related to silver. And my answer was the easiest and the most unconvoluted way to do it is just look at what the previous all-time highs were and adjust them for inflation and see what they are now. So if you take like the $800 high in gold from 1980, that's about $3,500 today. It seems to me like that's a pretty darn good target, a near-term reachable target that you don't have to put on your tinfoil hat to get to, right? You can get to $5,000-$10,000 gold if you start talking about monetizing the debt and the way you account for gold, and looking in Fort Knox and revaluing how gold is held and on the balance sheet, etc. All that stuff to me is it's like I don't make allocations based on that, right? I make allocations based on where we can actually get to. Do I hold stuff in my safe for those other outcomes? By all means, I do, right? But I'm not allocating in my IRA or my brokerage account because I think gold's going to $10,000 because they're going to re-rate the debt. Like that's not how I do day-to-day life. Silver. So that's $3,500 gold, I think, is a pretty good 12 to 18 month target. Silver goes a lot higher when you look at those prices from not only 1980, but from 2011 as well. To get to those previous highs, $49, you're looking at like plus $150 silver, right? So silver's really interesting. It broke out above 34, I think today before we recorded this. So silver's looking good, and that's that. And what I was saying in HFO this week, today, was that gold is the noise, right? Like all the tariff shit is so convoluted. And the inflation prints are up and down, and the bond yields are up and down, and the S&P is up and down, and the volatility is up, that gold is just the magnet now, right? It's just attracting the capital.
It's like that girl you can call that's always there and always lets you in no matter what's going on in life. It's good to have one of those people in your life, right, Nick?
Indeed. It's been a while.
It doesn't have to be a girl, by the way, folks. Let me rephrase that. It's like that friend you can call no matter what's going on. I would much prefer if it was a girl, but that's just my personal preference, folks. We all have it. Listen, jokes aside, I was speaking with a gentleman that's raised, speaking of deal flow, right? David Rhodes from Endeavor Capital, and he's also the executive chairman of Empress Royalty, which is a company that we really like. And we had a great conversation. I'll publish it likely next week. But he was giving me his targets and his predictions near termish in the next year or two for gold and silver, just exactly based on the fundamentals, not tinfoil hat stuff, not if our Secretary of Defense keeps texting military war plans to random fucking journalists, right? Which happened Not if any of those things continue. Just based on fundamentals and demand, he sees a clear path to $5,000 gold in pretty short order the next year or two. And $50 to $100 silver is basically, in the cards, which echoes your sentiment and echoes exactly how I feel, which is why we've spent the last couple of years positioning ourselves with very, very aggressive copper and silver positions that'll start getting real consequential real soon, because several of them will start drilling here in the month of April. We'll talk about that in the premium portion of this podcast. But I can't talk gold and silver without talking about copper, because copper also now is a part of the all-time high club, hitting that this past week. And so, I sound like a broken record. How's copper looking, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, we spent a lot of time on copper last week,
Yeah.
actually. I had written about it in the Foundational Profits issue. We were talking about how the price here in America, in North America, on the COMEX was rising faster than it was in Europe, well, not Europe, in London, I suppose,
Yep.
on the LME, because people, traders, banks, trading houses, et cetera, were rushing to get copper into the U.S. ahead of any tariffs. I told you that Trump slipped up in his talk to Congress on March 4th, I want to say
Yeah.
that was. God, time is flying. And said that he had enacted a 25% tariff on copper, and he had not yet, in fact, done that. He can't even keep them straight. And then again, I feel like a broken record, but it's worth repeating, that he did initiate the Section 232 petition with the Commerce Department. That was in late February. Howard Lutnick, who runs that department, has been very vocal about bringing copper back home. Copper needs to be American, all the sound bites, right? All the dog whistles.
Yep.
And then lo and behold, copper broke out above $5, went to all-time highs, as you said, and loose lips were definitely around, because the day after that, we got the copper tariff announcement, right, that he is going to impose 25% tariffs. I'm not sure if we got a date with that or not. I think April 2nd is the big tariff party. Get your kazoo ready. I'm not sure if copper is on April 2nd or not. But anyway, and then copper went to $5.30 a pound before falling off. So like you said, we've spent years preparing for this thesis. I've said, I think every week for the past 3 weeks, the metals production, refinement, purification, processing has to move from east to west, and is in the process of doing so. And it's not just going to be gold, which is repatriating for monetary reasons.
Yep.
And it's not just going to be copper, which is getting buoyant because of tariff and the supply demand curve reasons, but it's going to be the things, right? Like the rare earths that you're not going to mine in Greenland and Ukraine, for example. Like there's going to be an increased spotlight on those, and we positioned for that in some respects. And so copper looks good. Bought into Freeport this week. Long and strong. That's the largest North American producer of copper, large assets in the southwestern U.S. Pays a nice dividend that they just declared. And there's room to move in the copper stocks, I guess, is a point worth making. Yes, the copper price is at $5.20 or 30 cents, but if you pull up a chart of ICOP, which is a copper ETF, or COPX, I think is the other one, COPX, you'll see that they're only up a couple of percent over the past year, while copper's up like 25%. And so I think the copper equities have some catching up to do. And now you've got to layer on, we're always about structure. And yes, we look at jurisdiction, and yes, we look at management teams and the asset, but now the jurisdiction gets a little bit more of a weighting to its score, if that makes sense.
Yep. And listen, speaking of jurisdiction, and speaking of copper, and speaking of successful management teams, PPI subscribers, you will have a new copper deal here in the next several days in your inbox. It's a serially successful management team, historic copper resources in the ground, historic gold resources in the ground, large scale land package in BC. About the only thing that I don't like about the deal is the share structure. And I think eventually management will correct and consolidate that. In fairness to management, they're coming off a brutal resource bear market that has now turned into a bull market, right? However, a lot of the share structures still look like what it took to keep the lights on for the last several years during those bear markets. So if there's one blemish on the deal, it's that, but it is priced so cheaply and comes with a full warrant, that is a juicy, juicy, juicy copper gold deal with, again, a team that I absolutely believe will knock it out of the park with this specific company. So next day or two, if you're not a subscriber, I would subscribe. It's going to be a great deal. Again, it comes with a full warrant for a couple of years. To get a full warrant in a copper and gold bull market is going to be very, very profitable for those of you that take advantage of that deal. Any thoughts there, Mr. Hodge?
No, spent time on warrants last week as well. We've got some that are in the money that we need to exercise. I know what deal you're speaking of. That'll be the fourth deal we've done in the past month or two. Private placement intel readers will also get a quarterly update every quarter, every 3 months. They get an update on all the positions on the portfolio and whether we would hold or sell them, along with updates on what they've been up to. So plowing my way through that. Copper's looking at exciting. So happy to get that deal out to members, and deal flow's been great, and the stocks have been performing well that we've invested in that way. So yeah, continue to plug private placement intel, and people are responding as well. So it's good to see people. It's good to see that resonating with people, and it's good to see people willing to take an interest and try it out.
Yeah, I know. Look, I'm excited for that deal. The quality of the deals that we've been putting out has been top notch. I mean, I'll pat ourselves on the back for that. We work hard to make sure that we are able to provide quality deals and vet the deals. And we say no a whole hell of a lot more than we say yes. I mean, I had 3 other things on my desk this week that I looked at and said, maybe down the road, but it's not time yet. You either don't have an asset or you don't have a management team in place that I can trust, and put those things in place. And then we could have a different conversation, right? But, this is the evolution of working a deal. Back to the morning routine. This is what we do every day, folks. We're on the phone. We're looking at corporate decks. We're talking to management. We're in one instance, this deal, I was talking to a member of the board about it, approached us with it. And then I went ahead and talked with somebody who happens to be negotiating, potentially vending in another project into the company. So I know, 2 separate conversations, but I know that company A is hard at work to go and get, the portfolio expanded. And I know that because a part of our network has expressed to me that they just had lunch with them a couple of weeks ago. So that's how you put 2 and 2 together, and you go, okay, there's a lot of runway there. And to get a full warrant for subscribers, it's good work if you can find it.
That's it. Like it.
Tariffs. I'm no tariff expert.
No one
tariffs.
is.
No one is. But I do know this. I know tariffs make things more expensive.
Yeah, they do.
Copper's telling us that the price of automobiles is going to go higher. Only Tesla is Tesla, I believe, is the most American-made car as far as parts and.
How's their stock doing?
That's a good question. Last time I checked, it wasn't doing the best. But look, I think tariffs are probably going to be. Well, let me backtrack. The approach has been very whack-a-mole-ish, and the market is showing us that, right? The volatility index, the dollar index is telling us that, much like texting war plans or locations of missile strikes that were going to happen, a lot of people don't know what the fuck they're doing over there on certain things. And there's a lot of things happening that I like, and there are some things happening that I really, really don't like. I don't like the tariffs. I know they disproportionately affect lower income and middle class folks more than they affect folks like you and myself. That, yeah, we don't like to pay more, but luckily we are able to.
Like that guy doing the morning routine.
Like the guy doing the morning routine. Yeah, exactly. Do a morning routine about that. But do you think we're going to get a more stable approach here to everything? I mean, to war, to all the just madness that's going on. Last week we said the week before was relatively calm, and then this past week it's just been one thing after another, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question, right? So I just tell you what I told Foundational Profits this week, and it's a lot to think through. So I'll try not to jumble my words and give you word salad. I mean, you went from Sleepy Joe and afternoon naps to an Adderall-ridden administration. I mean, just basically, that's like the entire juxtaposition, right? The entire Sleepy Joe administration and the entire amped up Trump administration. So they do things completely different ways. We had 4 years to get used to Sleepy Joe, and now we're getting jolted back awake by Trump's not irrationality, but unpredictability and back and forthness, right? So that's one piece of it. You are going to get the tariffs by all means. I mean, you're going to get the tariffs. He's pretty adamant about that. His administration is marching and saying things in lockstep. They've even set a date, as I said earlier, for a fucking tariff coming out party on April 2nd. So you're going to get them, and they're going to be real. Your question was, is it going to settle down? I'm not sure about the war. I'm not really a geopolitical expert, and I don't really know Trump's true feelings about, despite what he said about turning Gaza into a beach resort, et cetera. I don't know how he really feels about the Ukraine and the Israel
Yeah.
situation. And honestly, I don't really know how I feel about it. And also, it affects me less than the tariff conversation, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
war is horrible and I'm anti-war, but it doesn't change my day to day, right? And that might be bad to say, but I look more at the tariffs because they affect my day to day, right? They affect purchasing, they affect investments, they affect the outcomes, and the war is sort of the war. There's been war going on for the past since ever I can remember, right? I'm a millennial born in 1983. Like, there's never not been war, so whatever. And it's just my conditioned state to the world. How they go about it can change. I don't want to. We can talk in the Bizarro World, the Bizarro section about the Signal app and the thing, because you just got to do things better, right? And you got to be
Yeah.
less hypocritical about. I remember fucking Trump talking about the Hillary emails forever. Like, you guys are fucking up too with the confidential information. So anyway, you asked about the tariffs. I think it's going to calm down. So I think that him coming in. I mean, he just came in and started throwing haymakers, right? Think about a fight. I mean, you can't throw haymakers forever. You get tired. You got to settle down. You get gas, right? Like, the entire audience just can't go like that forever. So, and I think it's fucking up the tape and the algorithms. I mean, you saw what the Atlanta Fed said about
Yeah.
GDP growth. They
Yep.
went from predicting literally in a week, they went from 2% positive to 3% negative. Like, it's just like, wah, 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 wah. And it's like,
Yep.
it's not going to be like that, right? So,
Uh,
I think you get a contraction in GDP this quarter, 0.5% growth, as opposed to the 2% growth we were having. I do not think you get a recession. I don't think you get 2 consecutive quarters of a negative growth. I don't think that's his bag. Then I think you get back to growth in the second half of the year. And then I got to talk about inflation for a second, because inflation's going down.
Yeah.
Market doesn't like that. And that's a tough concept to wrap your head around in general, because inflation is not really going down. It's just not going up as fast, right? It's only going up 2.4, 2.5, 2.6%. I know the last print was 2.8, but the next
Yep.
one's going to be lower than that. And that's coming down from 3% in January. So market doesn't like when growth and inflation are going down. And that's why you just got a 10% correction in the S&P.
Yep.
I mean, it's not too complex. Second half of the year, rates are going to go up. Inflation's going to start going back up too. I mean, we just talked about $5
Yep.
copper for a little while. We talked about, or we didn't talk about it, but like the Gaza ceasefire's out the window and oil's creeping back up. Like, the prices are going to go back up, and then the inflation's going to go back up. And if that happens, the inflation going back up happens commensurately with, growth going back up from this first quarter contraction to 5%. You're going to get a stock market that rips in the second half of the year. I mean, it's easy to say all that. I mean, I can't forecast the future. I don't know what's going to happen, of course, black swans, gray swans, all that sort of stuff. But that's how I'm sort of seeing it, and that's how I'm positioning for it. I don't know if any of that made sense, but that's how I'm sort of looking at it.
Yeah, no. I think you articulated that very well. I share similar sentiments across the board. Yeah, expect more volatility, folks. But the one thing I am very confident about is higher gold prices, higher
sure.
silver prices, higher copper prices. Lithium. I got to talk lithium for a bit. Even Goldman Sachs, who's been super bearish the last 2 years, rightfully so, by the way. They're finally calling for, a near-term rebound in the lithium price that should be sustainable. And any significant move higher is going to lead to a significant re-rating in the lithium stocks, especially the explorers that are onto world-class discoveries that are funded, that don't have to dilute, and that are, growing out world-class deposits in top-notch jurisdictions. The same thing that applies for copper and uranium as far as the nationalization of those specific commodities and it moving from east to west, because it has to, is going to happen in the lithium space, right? Volkswagen coming in to Patriot Battery Metals is an indicator that it understands that it's probably not going to compete in China, because the Chinese do low priced cars for high quality very, very well. They're not going to take that market over. Their best bet is North America. It's not a coincidence that a Volkswagen has decided to go throw 9.9%. And again, that was just the initial seat at the table. There's clear language in that release from, I believe it was January, where there's funding conversations being had. And so I say all that to say lithium is one that, again, I mentioned it last week. It's a contrarian play. Might take another few months. It'll absolutely be worth it if you stick to the better names.
Yeah. I don't have many thoughts on lithium. I was thinking about automakers while you were talking, and I was thinking that, for the American consumer, it would be good to let the Chinese manufacture cars here in the U.S. That's what they did with semiconductors, right? With Taiwan Semiconductor, I'm pretty sure they've got plants in the U.S., right? As sort of an olive branch to circumvent some of the trade stuff. Why don't they let BID build batteries and cars here in the U.S.? Maybe you can ask Elon and get back to us.
Elon's busy, man. I don't think Elon's going to get back to us. Elon's got a whole heck of a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to pivot to the social part of this podcast, so we've already sprinkled it in. It's been a heck of a week for the administration. Look, immigration is an issue that's near and dear to my heart. My parents were immigrants when they came to this country. They subsequently obtained a residency and citizenship, and contributed positively for decades on end. They lived here for some 35 years, and I was the fortunate recipient of opportunities that I otherwise would not have had, which is why you get to hear my loud self every week talk about all the different things that I do. With that being said, there is a broken immigration system in this country that's been broken under Democrats, Republicans, equally for many, many decades. Ronald Reagan was the last person to pass any kind of comprehensive immigration reform in this country. We were in a recession in 87. The country rebounded as a result of, in part because of that reform that allowed tax-paying, nonviolent immigrants a path towards residency and citizenship, right? A legal process by which people that want to contribute can be in this country and contribute, whether it's culturally, whether it's financially, whether it's with low-income labor, whether it's, with brilliant research people, whatever the contribution is. If you contribute, you deserve a shot at it. That's the premise of America. That's what we were founded on, folks. So when I see students with legal F1 visits that are here legally, when I see the administration say that Haitians and Venezuelans and Cubans that had been granted legal status here in the U.S. by the Biden administration, over 500,000 of them now will be stripped of that and in essence be deemed illegal from legal and be subject to deportation. And I see people being arrested for expressing their views, and the only thing they did wrong was echo a view that the administration doesn't agree with, but legally, the person is here in the United States. Ron Paul had a quote earlier that I really like. He said, freedom of speech isn't granted by the government. Freedom of speech is inherently American, right? It is one of the tenets, it's a foundational principle of our country. So when I see people that are here legally getting picked up and put in vans and held and detained for hours and subject to, the kind of treatment that I'm seeing, deportation proceedings and all of that, I gotta ask myself, why in the fuck don't we do it the right way? What is so hard about going after the violent criminals? I don't want to be next to the violent criminal either. I don't want my kids having to be in a world where, legal or illegal, there's criminals that are raping and pillaging and mutilating and shooting and doing all of that. I am all for going after illegal people that are not contributing, that are not, that have criminal records, that are committing crimes. I don't understand, and maybe you can enlighten me, Nick. I don't know that you'll have an answer, but I don't understand the fucking approach of this administration thus far.
it's politicized, and you know this. I mean,
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
said this
yeah.
before. I mean, they use it as a political football to get votes, right, on both sides. They know what the solution is, right? Closing the border and fixing the immigration process so it doesn't take so long to get legal status.
Yeah.
As you know, it takes years sometimes to get that. I too am the son of an immigrant, as you know. So, um, what do I want to say? I don't really know what I want to say, except that it's a political football. I mean, you know that, and that's the
Yeah.
easiest cut and
Yeah.
dried answer. I mean, the border crossings have gone down, and so he can point to that. But
Sure.
I mean, using immigration as a political tool, and this I don't agree with. So you can say outright, like, and I haven't really read into the girl from, I think, Tufts. It was
Yep. Yep. Yep.
that
Yep.
you're referring to. I haven't read that whole story yet, so I don't want to comment too much. I'm not sure. I read about the op-ed a little bit, but I'm not sure like what the reason was for stopping her. If it was as simple as that, then that's obviously wrong and un-American, right? Um, and very reflective or reminiscent of Gestapo type stuff. So
Yep.
not in favor of that, but am in favor of um, closed borders and a robust immigration system. I mean, it's a country of immigrants. That's one thing I never get, and it's an easy thing to talk about. Like people talk about immigrants like it's not a fucking country of immigrants. Like we all came from somewhere else, and so there's got to be a path to be able to get in, and it's sort of straightforward for me. Like I don't get I don't wring my hands over it, and I don't get fired up about it because it's not that complex of an issue to me, right? If you
Yeah.
break the law, then you're not allowed in or get the fuck out. And if you're a law-abiding citizen that's gonna generate tax receipts and produce goods or services intellectually or otherwise for this country, then by all means, welcome. Whatever the color of your skin or the country you came from or your religion or creed or whatever. So yeah, unfortunately, you know the MAGA base and you know the dog whistle game, and that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You said it well. I'll leave it there. Um, I want to get to the premium portion of the podcast because we have a few things to get to, and a pretty important month in the month of April coming up. April and May are going to be really, really important for me personally, financially, for friends and family that are positioned, and for subscribers that have been following my stuff here. Frankly, some of this stuff, for the past couple of years, right? In the case of one company, it's been many years in the making, and transformational milestone moment that is about to occur that I think is going to be a game changer for the company and its shareholders. So by default, us. Anything else you want to get off your chest? I wanted to talk about Amelia.
Yep,
Um,
that's it.
and I think that is it's an important conversation to have. You're closer to the issue than I am, Nick. So do you want to provide the color and the context of it? Because this is something that really, really pissed me off.
Yeah, and there's so many details, and it's a long story, and you guys will be familiar. You guys, as in the audience, are familiar with the story that it is. So, um, for broader context, there's a little girl named Amelia, 3 years old. She's probably four now. In fact, I think she is four. That some employees of ours were friends with her parents, and we give donations every month. We give 1% of our newsletter sales to a cause or a charity or a group that one of our employees picks, and last year, those employees who knew this family started picking Amelia because she had a GoFundMe because she was diagnosed with brain cancer as a 3-year-old, which is highly traumatic and very expensive for the family to have to put life on hold to deal with that. So for several months in a row, I think it was, I don't even know, 6, 7, 8, 9 months in a row, we gave 1% of our thing, 1% of our net revenue to Amelia. And it wasn't looking good, honestly, for a while.
No.
I don't know how long I want to talk about it, but she wasn't doing well. She had I think it's called a shunt in her brain. She was having like brain bleeding and leaking, and they weren't able to do the right types of procedures or therapies to get rid of the cancer because she had this stuff going on in her brain. And this went on for a while. And finally they figured out, like after specialist, that the parents advocating, which is a huge part. You really need parents that advocate. But anyway, they figured out something was wrong with the shunt, got it removed. Her head was able to heal enough that they could do the procedure necessary to remove the cancer. And I think this was like last October or November. She got the prognosis 100 cancer free. It was awesome, right? Like we had
Yeah.
round of applause. We have Slack here where we talk about this stuff, etc. And it was like a super feel good moment.
Yeah.
And then she needed like continuing care, continuing medicine to prevent the recurrence of the cancer, right? And this is sort of new to me because it's only been this story's been reintroduced to me just in the past couple of weeks because of this. But what ended up happening was the insurance was denying that care, right? Like that new care, that recurring care, to prevent the cancer from coming back. And so we heard about this. The friend of the family who works for us, Tim, our video guy, has been for a long time. He chose Amelia last month. We gave them another 1%. And I went and checked a couple of things. I think they're up to like 85 grand of $100,000 goals. So have a really strong community around them. But then got on the local news in Baltimore, and we can put up a link because of this, a denial of care, denial of medicine from the insurance companies, which is not a new theme, right? We can harken back to Luigi Mangione from last year and the killing of the United Healthcare executive in the streets of Manhattan, right? So this is clearly an issue that is facing many Americans that lots of people are fed up with, to the point where they're committing acts of violence in the streets and responding to that positively. Like I don't know if it's still up, but there was a billboard of Luigi Mangione,
Yeah.
like a saint
Yeah.
in New York, right? In the garb with his hands up like this. There was, people coming to his, I don't think he's in trial yet, pretrial hearings and things like that, like celebrity status, right? So anyway, it's fucked up that the insurance companies do this. And thankfully, I haven't had to run into this. I mean, last week you were talking about I had surgery on my elbow. Like, I didn't experience any of that. I went and got surgery on my elbow. I paid my $1,000 and whatever, I was done. But could you imagine being in the position to have a 4-year-old daughter that her life is hanging in the balance, and you've paid your insurance premiums, and they're denying her continuation of care? And so we just wanted to give some airtime to that. We'll share a link to the Baltimore news story. We obviously donated 1% of, what month is it? February revenue. And we'll see if somebody picks her again. But we just wanted to amplify the issue, amplify the story, and talk about it on the podcast here for a second. Sorry, I don't have more explicit details, but it's all in the news story, and you can check out the GoFundMe page as well. We're not asking for donations. We're just trying to share the story.
Yeah, no, that was really, really, really articulated well. I want to get the company name right because assholes, by the way. What was the name of the company it was denying the claims?
Shit.
And again, we want to be clear.
I got it in the tab here.
Yeah, we want to be clear. She was insured. She had insurance. She was paying her premiums. They were up to date on their premiums. So it's bad enough when you're not insured in America. It's bad enough when you can't afford health insurance and you have a situation or an emergency. In this case, by a miracle, she survives the actual, process and the treatments. And I can't imagine what that was like for her and her parents and her family and her loved ones. And then to all of a sudden get to the stage where, you're not across the finish line, but you're getting closer, as close as you've been. And to have the insurance company turn around and then all of a sudden just start denying claims where this is medicine that's required. The doctors wrote to the licensing board, begging, petitioning for the insurance company to please approve the medication because it was literally, it's a life or death issue for her. It's just beyond me, and it's fucking cruel, man.
So the company is called MedImpact, MED Impact, MedImpact, one word. Seems like it has to do. They are the pharmacy benefit provider or administrator, and I guess one of our parents works for the state of Maryland, which my mom did for like 30 years. So they have pretty good insurance. But I guess the pharmacy benefit provider switched on January 1st. And that's when, like you said, they were insured. The provider just switched, and that's when they started denying the care. And it says here at the bottom of the story, which is WMAR from, I believe that's Baltimore affiliate. Yeah. It says that the news agency, reached out to MedImpact regarding Amelia's coverage denials starting on February 7th. They've sent 5 follow-up emails to 5 different email addresses and sent LinkedIn messages to 3 MedImpact employees and have not heard back. So, fuck you, MedImpact.
Fuck you, MedImpact. Absolutely. Truly, sincerely. And my God, the people that are like doing this to that baby and that family, I wish you all the reciprocity in the world. Google it. Nothing more, nothing less. just what's fair. Kind of like how that's the standard I hold myself to, right? When I go to do a thing, I try to be intentional of the things that I say and the things that I do and how I act and, how I comport myself in the world. And I always keep that in the back of my mind, right? The world only works one way. Every action has a reaction. Reciprocity is all I ever want, right? If I put something negative out, shoot it right back. I'm a big boy. I'll take it. If I'm trying to do the right things, then I hope things work out in the right way. So for the people that are pushing that button, saying denied, playing with this little girl's life, yeah, reciprocity, all the reciprocity to you. All right, that was well said, Nick. It's a somber tone to end it in, but hopefully we can come back and have some positive updates for you on that story. I don't want to leave on a completely somber note. I want to be the optimist that I am, and say that I hope the attention that the news organization is giving this, and that the outrage that has been caused as a result of this decision is something that motivates the insurance company to approve the medication. So that's it for this week for the non-premium portion of the podcast. A lot to get to on the premium side of things. Stay humble, folks. Stay humble. Be loving. Be kinder. Have a great time out there. Have a great week. I'm off for a couple of days with the wife on vacation. And then I think the rest of the year is going to be a barn burner. It's going to be busy. So this will probably be the last real, multi-day rest day. But I will be back next week for the podcast in time to knock it out. I am Gerardo Del Real along with Mr. Nick Hodge. This was the 310th episode of our weekly therapy session we call Investing in Bizarro World. Go top off those Hannon and Kingsman positions, people. They won't be at these prices for long. Adios.
See ya.